the whole system of slavery, not so nice. But the people who practiced what was required of that system in terms of having slaves, those people themselves, even though they believed in that system, used that system to their advantage, they're not bad people.
Dennis Prager says a lot of controversial things. He has famously said things that are very, very anti-women, blaming women for all kinds of societal ills in his mind. But Dennis Prager said something that may be the craziest, most controversial, most disgusting thing that he's ever said. Ana Kasparian on the Young Turks broke all this down. We're going to take a look at some clips of Dennis Prager saying these wild things, Ana Kasparian reacting to it, and I will share my own thoughts as well. Let's check this out.
There were undoubtedly many nice slaveholders in the South. This is not meant facetiously, again. It's meant literally.
Dennis Prager trying to make a comment about how there were nice slave owners in America. Individuals who purchased humans to force them to work for them for free and would beat them, whip them, rape them. Nice slave owners. Now, what a great Christian Dennis Prager is. Why don't we hear more about these so-called nice slave owners?
If you had been invited to one of their homes, you would have been treated beautifully.
Yeah, as long as you were white, if you weren't a slave.
But they supported a vicious system. The left is a vicious system. It's not slavery. Although the end result of all leftism is the enslavement of populations, not as in transatlantic slave trade or chattel slavery, but in the diminution of human rights and liberties, which is a form of enslavement.
Fascinating argument. So first, let's address what he's saying piece by piece here, Cenk. So number one, he makes the argument that, the whole system of slavery, not so nice, but the people who practiced what was required of that system in terms of having slaves, those people themselves, even though they believed in that system, used that system to their advantage, they're not bad people. They just, treated human beings as property and were vicious to those human beings. But they weren't bad people. I mean, they might invite you to their home and they'd cook you a nice dinner. They'd be super nice if you were a white American, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me jump in on that one. So if we're being super generous to Dennis Prager, he's saying, well, slavery was vicious, but even so, some of the people who participated in it were nice people. They would treat you nicely. And so don't be fooled by people being nice. Okay, so that's the most generous interpretation of what Prager is saying. But look at his assumptions. Like, it doesn't even occur to him that anyone in his audience is black. Because if you were black, they would not have treated you nicely. They might have literally taken you out into the back and whipped you or raped you instantly. That would not have been a very nice way to treat you, right? But he thinks, well, I mean, it would have been nice to me. Good enough, right? So that is among the problems here. I'm going to get back to his comments on the left and how it's like slavery later, because I think that's really important. But I wanted to make one more, just one quick correction. Prager is Jewish, by the way. He's not Christian. And you would be surprised by that because he kisses Christian nationalist ass 24/7. Why? Because that's where his bread is buttered. So, and that's where his audience is. So he's like, oh, Christian right is awesome. And just please include me. Please include me. I mean, later when, Armageddon happens and you murder all the Jews. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. As long as you keep sending the checks.
I actually didn't know that because of all the ass kissing he does to Christians. That's pretty surprising.
Okay, a couple things that I'd say real quick. First of all, Dennis Prager in this video Did he just drink a bottle of cold medicine? I mean, could a person be any more subdued in a video? The guy is just like he's going to fall asleep or something. Secondly, as Cenk Uygur points out here, Ana Kasparian was incorrect that he is not Christian, although he seems to be a Christian wannabe. Dennis Prager, being Jewish, if he had gone to one of these slave owners' homes in the Deep South in the 1800s, they wouldn't have treated him the same way they would have treated a slave, but I don't know if they would have rolled out the red carpet for a Jewish man. I don't know. And at any time, any of these nice slave owners, quote unquote nice slave owners, Dennis Prager, they could have just said, yeah, I'm a nice person. I'm not going to own slaves. They didn't have to, just because they were in this system. They didn't have to have slaves. Now, the argument that Dennis Prager would make, well, but then in their economic system, then they would have been behind the other people and they wouldn't have made as much of a profit. Okay, but they're not nice people if they're owning slaves. It wasn't like this was 10,000 years ago. The people in the 1800s, they knew right from wrong. People knew this was wrong. Now, they twisted themselves into all kinds of knots to say that the Bible justified all of this, but good people would not have owned slaves. So it's a crazy argument from Dennis Prager.
But, I can kind of understand why Prager, based on, first of all, the lack of logic, but also it seems like he's sedated. And that makes me understand why he would run away from all the leftists who have challenged him to a debate, myself included, by the way. But nonetheless, let me give you some more of what he had to say. So this is not the first time that Prager has equated benign things to slavery. So, for instance, him mentioning leftism or leftist ideology as something that's as evil and terrible as slavery. He was previously condemned for claiming unvaccinated Americans are the most hated group of people since slavery in an attack on COVID vaccinations in November of last year. By the way, I would be shocked if Dennis Prager wasn't fully vaccinated. Absolutely shocked. I bet you anything he is. And remember, this is the guy who just last week was talking about how the most evil people who need to be controlled are women. Because women, he argues, are overwhelmingly represented in jobs like teaching. And he thinks that teachers, there's grooming students is prevalent among teachers. That's his logic. There's no evidence for that. Absolutely no evidence, no statistics, nothing that he can point to prove that. But his whole mission in life is to go around defaming all sorts of innocent people because he's terrified of women for some reason, probably because women are terrified of him. And he just provides no evidence for anything he says. He says the most vicious things about people he happens to disagree with politically. And then he goes so far as to say that slave owners were nice people. But to be fair to him, he believes in powerful people having the ability to control other people's bodies. I mean, he's fighting for that today by trying to ban abortion, by having the government tell women what they can and can't do with their own bodies. So to be fair to him, I can understand why he would, empathize with slave owners.
Yeah. Last thing, these lunatic right-wingers think that we want to control their lives. Dude, we want to stay as far away from your life as humanly possible. Okay. We actually believe in freedom, unlike you. So, but they project their oppression and their insanity onto us. Oh, the left wing wants to imprison. I don't care about you. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone, you dumbass. Okay. But every one of their audience thinks, oh, well, we want to oppress the left wing and control their lives completely. Tell them when they can and can't have kids and who they can and can't sleep with and what they can smoke and what they can drink. And so they must want to do the same thing to us. No, we don't actually believe in oppression because we're not right wingers.
So Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian are exactly right about all of this that they're saying here, in my opinion. Dennis Prager is absolutely obsessed with the left and all these ideas that people on the left are just horrible and want to do all these horrible things to him and other people, and equating the views of the left to slavery, raising the minimum wage, having Medicare for all, making college tuition free, giving kids free lunches in schools. Yeah, it's exactly like slavery, Dennis Prager. I mean, it's such a ludicrous comparison that he makes here. But I think Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are absolutely right. And these right-wingers, I don't know if they say these things because they believe them. I imagine Dennis Prager believes these things, or if it's just to be controversial to make money. But Bill O'Reilly, before he got removed from Fox News for all kinds of harassment lawsuits, he did the same thing, tying himself into a logic pretzel, trying to defend slavery, to say, like, oh, they weren't all bad. Some of them were pretty nice. I don't know what they gain from any of this. Who wants to hear this in 2024? Oh, yeah, slavery wasn't all bad. For some of the people, it was pretty. I think Bill O'Reilly, I don't know if it was Bill O'Reilly or another right-winger, but said that, maybe it may have been Greg Gutfeld, said that the slaves earned all kinds of skills that they could use later on while they were slaves. When were they going to use these skills? Okay, they learned woodworking so they could start their own business later or whatever. I mean, that wasn't going to happen. All of this is insane. But Dennis Prager is a kook. He's a weirdo. He's anti-woman. He appears to be racist, or at least he's, he wants to try to justify slavery. So I think this is a great takedown by Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur on the Young Turks. But what do you think? Do you agree with Ana Kasparian? Do you agree with Cenk Uygur about Dennis Prager? Or do you agree with Dennis Prager? Although I don't know why anyone would agree with this, that slavery wasn't all bad. Some of the people were the nice people who were owning other human beings and beating them and forcing them to do labor with no pay. But give me your comments. Let me know what you think about Ana Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, Dennis Prager, or anybody else in the political sphere that you want to talk about. This channel is growing really quickly, and I want to thank you for that. I want the channel to continue to grow, and your likes and subscribes help me to do that. So make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.